also like to point out that in Maryland, the study that was recently done, they also pointed out that the lottery would probably decrease by about 10, lottery profits would decrease by about 10%, according to their study. So that was another figure that wasn't put into the 933 million. The other piece said that 2.5% of sales tax receipts would go down because people would be playing the lottery and not buying, purchasing items. So there's two figures that I know are not included in the $933 million. I thank you, and John Edgar will give his testimony, and then we'll take any questions.
Thank you, John. My name is John Edgar. I'm the chairperson of the Anti-Gambling Task Force for the 500,000 United Methodists in the state of Ohio. For 19 years, the Ohio Council of Churches and the United Methodist Church, along with tens of thousands of other individuals in diverse faith communities across the state, have successfully stopped predatory gambling from entering Ohio with slot machines and casinos. On 4 separate occasions, we have led the efforts to defeat statewide ballot issues that would have brought slot machines and/or casinos into our state. Across these 2 decades, we have also effectively blocked proposals in the Ohio General Assembly that would have opened the way to casino-style gambling. I remember one occasion several years ago when Mr. Blessing announced that he had all the votes and the casinos were coming, and that's almost a decade ago now. And so simply because we have had one vote doesn't mean it's over. In fact, not even close. And we come before you this morning to celebrate our successes that have up until now protected Ohio families from slot machines and the worst forms of predatory gambling. We are also here to announce the next steps that we are taking to ensure that predatory gambling is stopped yet again, despite the actions that have been taken this week by the Ohio General Assembly and Governor Strickland. As recently as November of last year, Ohio citizens went to the polls and voted overwhelmingly against slot machines and casinos. In that election, 63% of the voters said no to DLTs and no to the devastating social consequences that predatory gambling would have reaped in our state. We are appalled by the circumstances that have led our one governor, along with 54 members of the Ohio House of Representatives and 17 state senators, to pass legislation that will bring thousands of slot machines into our state. I stand before you this morning to say it's morally wrong, and it is ultimately politically untenable for these 72 individuals, again, one governor, 54 reps, 17 senators, 72 individuals, to reject the will of 3,350,000 citizens who voted no last November to predatory gambling and voted yes to protect our families and neighbors from this exploitation. We are determined that the will of the people repeatedly expressed at the voting booth will not be vetoed by these 72 politicians. We join our voices with the growing cries of outrage at the failure of the entire Ohio General Assembly and Governor Strickland to approve a biennium budget with sufficient revenue to provide for essential government services. Blinded by their own political cowardice, our legislators and our governor were so afraid that raising taxes would harm their own chances for re-election that they never discussed in a meaningful way, let alone adopted, appropriate tax increases. In this leadership vacuum, our General Assembly has cowered behind the false promise of millions of dollars of income that are projected to come from the gambling losses of our neighbors. This is the ultimate regressive tax that preys on those who are most vulnerable in our communities and will generate enormous social costs caused by the ravages of gambling addiction and the exploitation of low and working class folks who will be enticed to lose their paychecks at the slot machines. Today, we're pleased to announce that the next steps that we're taking to ensure that slot machines do not prey upon our fellow citizens. These actions include that we are joining with other anti-gambling organizations, particularly with the Ohio Roundtable, David Zanotti, to file a lawsuit proving that the current slot machine proposal is unconstitutional. I was speaking with Mr. Zanotti earlier this morning, and he says that when people are asking when are we going to file, we don't have an exact date. Part of that is because this is both a complex issue, and there are so many ways in which we are convinced this is unconstitutional. We have to figure out not only which items to lead with, but it is possible we will file in more than one court simultaneously. And I just want to lift up two parts of where it's clear that this violates the Ohio Constitution. The Ohio Constitution allows the state government to operate a lottery through the Lottery Commission. And a lottery is a specific type of gambling, despite what some folks in the General Assembly and Governor Strickland are currently saying. A lottery is classified as Class 2 gambling by the federal government. And VLTs, slot machines, are programmed to operate as slot machines, are a form of Class 3 gambling. Our Constitution was amended to allow lotteries, a type of Class 2 gambling. Our Constitution was never amended to allow any form of casino gambling, slot machines, or any form of Class 3 gambling. And when Governor Strickland and others say, well, as long as the Lottery Commission does it, then it's got to be a lottery. That's just not good logic. I mean, one way to think about it is that if Major League Baseball Commission decided that it wanted to hold golf tournaments to raise more money, Major League Baseball Commissioner can organize as many golf outings as they may want, but that will never make a golf outing sponsored by Major League Baseball a baseball game. They can have balls, they can have sticks in both, but golf will be golf and baseball will be baseball. And it doesn't matter how many times Governor Strickland says, but my lottery commission is going to do it. It won't turn a slot machine that's Class 3 gambling into a lottery, which is Class 2 gambling.